that you have joined us this morning for an interesting and uplifting program. We will learn about the brass band of Battle Creek, whose mission is to bring joy, understanding, and inspiration through the power of music. I think we are all ready to sit back and enjoy this program. Next month, our program will be one that is of current interest and importance. Our speaker will be Edward Woods III, who is the Communications and Outreach Director for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. His program, Fair Maps Through Public Engagement, Michigan's new redistricting process, will be helpful to all of us in understanding how our state's boundaries are being redrawn. You won't want to miss this presentation. The COVID-19 committee will be meeting again in mid-October to decide the venue for our November meeting. Please watch for email and constant contact announcements and information in the November newsletter about this decision. I'm very pleased to announce the return of the Noontime series for October and November. For those of you who have not yet been able to enjoy this series, it originated in 2017 to provide opportunities for our members to learn about local communities and our organizations, including nonprofits and businesses. The sessions are held on the third Friday of each month. They are informal, they do not last longer than 1 hour, and they're free. Usually we invite you to bring your own lunch, but under the current circumstances, we're asking you to wait to do that until we are once again able to enjoy refreshments in our HAS space. This month's program on October 15th at noon will feature Lenny Benovitz, Artistic Director of the Hope Summer Repertoire Theater. HSRT's 50th season is just around the corner. We hope that you will join us as Lenny shares some of the company's plans to celebrate this milestone year. There will be a limit of 50 for this program, so please watch for details about how you can register. Registration for the second half of our fall term classes will also be announced shortly. Please watch for that information so that you can sign up for classes that are scheduled for November and December. I've been asked to make a few announcements from the Special Events Committee. Before I do that, I understand that the trip last week to the Lincoln Springfield sites was very successful, and all those who went had a wonderful time. So thank you to the committee for planning that. Next week, Wednesday, on October 13th at 5 p.m., we will have the opportunity to attend the Hope Women's Volleyball game at the Hope Fieldhouse. Before the game, Coach Schmidt will share her insights while we dine on a boxed dinner. Then we will watch the Hope versus Adrian game from the reserved section of the Fieldhouse. If you are interested in attending this event, sign up today, as space is limited for the talk and dinner, but not for the game. Then the closing of the Grand is scheduled at the end of this month, October 30 through November 1. At this point, the trip is full, but there is a wait list if you choose to put your name on it. Coming up next month, on November 17th, is a bus trip to the Gilmore Car Museum, which is one of the largest car collections in the US. You can join fellow HAS members to learn about the birds and the bees, that being the Plymouth Superbird and the Dodge Super Bee. You will be able to stroll through preserved pieces of history, such as the Green Book exhibit on the park, like campus of historic buildings, which include a 1930s gas station, the 1941 Blue Moon Diner, and a recreated dealership row. There are also over 400 vintage and collector vehicles from all eras on display in over a dozen vintage buildings located on the 90 acres of the museum property. The trip includes a 90-minute docent guided orientation and tour. A boxed lunch will be provided, after which you can wander around to see your favorite exhibit or one of the many specialty exhibits. Another option for your free time might be a visit back to the Blue Moon Diner for dessert. Sign up soon for this trip down memory lane. Details to register for all of these special events are in the October newsletter. However, if you do need assistance, please contact Susan Timmer at timmer@hope.edu. And now it's time for Doug Walber, our membership chairperson, to introduce our guests and new members. Doug?
Thank you, Barb. Well, we're very pleased to welcome 3 guests this morning. Visiting with us are Susan Boehm, Karen DeMaul, and Jan Dirksey. Welcome to you. We're really glad that you're here and hope each of you will go on and become full members of this great organization. Then we're also very pleased to welcome and introduce 8 new members. And these individuals are Linda Belgiano, David Bickle, Karen Gorehouse, Susan and Jim McIlvain, Pam Padding, Susan Skurman, and Jennifer Verhulst. Again, it's great that you've come on board and become a member of HASP. We're anxious for you to really get involved and just begin to appreciate and enjoy all the really amazing things this organization has to offer you. So again, welcome. Thank you.
Barb, you're muted. Unmute, Barb.
There we go. Sorry about that. I didn't mute myself. So anyway, thanks, Doug. And we're looking forward to meeting all of our new members. Last month, I believe we had 9 new members, and this month 8. So we have a lot of catching up to do. This morning's presenters from the BBC will now be introduced by Paul Trapp, who is a member of our monthly program committee. Paul?
Paul, you're muted.
Okay, I got it. This has been a difficult year, pretty obvious. During the year, we had programs dealing with the many problems and the challenges that we have been facing. But now it's time for a monthly program about joy, success, and beautiful sounds. It was maybe 15 or 20 years ago that I first heard the brass band of Battle Creek playing a Tulip Time concert sponsored by Herman Miller and the then brand new DeWitt Performing Arts Center in Zeeland. I was fascinated by the band and have become somewhat of like a Grateful Dead junkie, following them where I could. Yet this world-class band is unknown to many of us at HASP, or many other HASP members. So today we look forward to a presentation about this marvelous ensemble, its history, its successes, its musicians, and its music, presented by Dr. Bill Gray, the founder of the band, Shannon Akins, the executive director, and Miss Fixit for the band, and Jerry Rose, educational director, leader of the band's youth programs, and now I learned the media guru. But it's time for me to stop talking and pass the baton to Shannon. Welcome to HASP.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's greatly appreciated. I can't tell you how happy we are to be here today to share the story of the Brass Band of Battle Creek. And Paul is very correct. I get to talk to Paul every concert as far as ticket purchase and what the concert is going to look like. So thank you very much, Paul, for suggesting that we make this presentation. I have with me today, like Paul introduced, Jerry Rose, who is our education director. He's pretty recent to the organization. Just over a year ago, he joined us. And of course, Bill Gray, and he is one of the founders, along with his brother, Jim Gray. They are both podiatrists, or were. They have both retired from practice and obviously still very involved with the brass band. One of the stories I like to share, because I get asked this quite a bit, is what musical instrument do I play? The answer to that would be 0 musical instruments. I really am not very musically inclined, and in fact, never fancied myself a brass band aficionado until I was given the opportunity to use a free ticket at a performance here in Marshall. And I went to the concert and was absolutely overcome with what an amazing group this is. So for me, I call it the sparkling magic that happens every time I hear this group perform. The camaraderie, the musicianship, the friendship, the energy that this group creates is completely magical. So what I'd like to do now is we're going to show you a presentation that we've put together. Includes a lot of information about the brass band of Battle Creek. So we hope you enjoy this presentation.
For over 30 years, the Brass Band of Battle Creek has been thrilling audiences and inspiring students in Battle Creek, Calhoun County, and beyond, with its unique blend of world-class musical artistry, tradition, and innovative collaboration. Rooted in the traditions of the British brass band movement and driven by the passion and tireless efforts of founders James and William Gray, the band has evolved into a present-day powerhouse known for its all-star roster and ability to expertly perform many styles of music. It all began in the fall of 1989, when 2 local podiatrists, brothers Jim and Bill Gray, traveled to East Lansing to attend a performance by the Black Watch Band from Britain. Jim and Bill were involved with the Marshall, Michigan Community Band, and it was suggested that they perform a concert of British brass band music the following summer. Through contacts met during the brothers' involvement with the Leonard Falcone International Euphonium and Tuba Festival at Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp, Jim was referred to Dr. Paul Drosty, former band director at The Ohio State University, as a potential conductor and source of material for the concert. Dr. Drosty suggested that the Grays host a brass band seminar in Battle Creek as part of a program then sponsored by the Yamaha Corporation. Although they were not initially interested, the Gray brothers eventually became intrigued with the idea of the seminar. They agreed to organize the event, and the seminar took place at Kellogg Community College in August of 1990. Many of the band members were Battle Creek area adult musicians and music educators, but the Grays also persuaded most of the brass faculty from Michigan State University to join in the effort, and the resulting final concert was inspiring to both the audience and musicians. It was quickly decided that the experience was simply too good to happen only once, and the Brass Band of Battle Creek was born. The next concerts of the band were held in the auditorium at what is now Lakeview Middle School. Retired Michigan State University Director of Bands Kenneth Bloomquist was named the first permanent conductor, and the word started to spread among brass and percussion musicians of this fantastic group performing in Battle Creek. As the size of concert audiences grew, the BBBC moved to its current performance home at the beautiful and historic W.K. Kellogg Auditorium, where it continues to perform for capacity audiences twice each year. Using the growing reputation of the Brass Band of Battle Creek, the Gray brothers leveraged their substantial promotional talent to persuade British euphonium superstar Stephen Mead, United States Navy Band solo tubist Marty Erickson, and the late Central Michigan University euphonium professor Luis Maldonado to join the band. These musicians in turn recruited other top military band players and university faculty, including Carlton Rowe, principal cornet of the United States Marine Band, Woodrow English, principal cornet of the United States Army Band, Scott Hartman and Sam Pallavian from the Empire Brass Quintet, and many others. As time progressed, openings in the band were filled with more renowned artists, and fantastic players from Great Britain joined the group, including bass trombonist Mark Frosty Frost, tubist Les Niche, and tenor horn specialist Owen Farr. Today's brass band of Battle Creek roster is a rotating all-star list of internationally renowned musicians, many of whom are recognized as the best of the best in the world of brass and percussion. In addition to its regular concerts in Battle Creek, the BBBC has performed as a featured ensemble at many prestigious events. In 1998, the band was invited as the first band from the United States to perform as guest ensemble at the British National Brass Band Championships, held in London's Royal Albert Hall, part of a 10-day concert tour of the United Kingdom. In 2001, the band performed as part of the University Musical Society series at the University of Michigan, the first performance ever by a brass band in the legendary 4,200-seat Hill Auditorium. In April of 2002, the band performed in Cincinnati as guest artist at the North American Brass Band Association Championships, becoming the only brass band to perform as a guest ensemble at both the North American and British National Brass Band Championships. The BBBC has performed with a number of important figures in the music world, including 2 performances with the late legendary trumpet virtuoso Doc Severinsen. The band has also presented premiere performances of important new works for brass band by composers Philip Spark, Ron Newman, Paul Murtha, William Balcom, and Wycliffe Gordon. In spring 2021, the brass band of Battle Creek received an invitation to perform the finale concert for the 75th anniversary Midwest Clinic at McCormick Place in Chicago. The Midwest Clinic is the largest and most prestigious international music conference, drawing 17,000 to 18,000 attendees that regularly include the world's top musicians, conductors, teachers, and composers. The band's jaw-dropping performance at the 2017 Midwest Clinic led to the invitation to participate in this special 75th anniversary celebration. The 2021 schedule features evening performances by the United States Army Field Band, the Dallas Winds, the Canadian Brass, and the Count Basie Orchestra, culminating in the finale concert featuring the brass band of Battle Creek at 11:30 a.m. on Saturday, December 18th. Dr. Kenneth Bloomquist conducted the brass band of Battle Creek from its inception until 1993, and was the conductor for the band's first CD, Sing, 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 released in 1992. A number of great conductors occupied the podium between 19...
Sorry, can you re-share, Jerry? Somebody must have pressed share screen.
Yes, absolutely. I will.
Got interrupted. Sorry, I kicked them off, but
Renowned band conductors Ray Kramer, H. Robert Reynolds, Kevin Seditole, and Colonel Arnold Gabriel, retired conductor of the United States Air Force Band. Michael J. Garassi joined the brass band of Battle Creek as its resident conductor in 2013, after 9 years with the award-winning brass band of Central Florida. His dynamic personality and consummate skill on the podium has been inspiring to audience members and has made him a respected colleague to the all-star cast of BBBC musicians. One of the leading British brass band publications, 4 Bars Rest, has hailed him as one of the most formidable and reputable conductors in the world of brass bands, and chose him as a nominee for the honor of Conductor of the Year in 2020. Under Mr. Garassi's direction, the BBBC has produced multiple recordings and performed numerous concerts, youth programs, children's concerts, and clinics throughout the state of Michigan. Since 2020, Mr. Garassi has also served as Director of Bands and Associate Professor of Music at the University of Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton, Texas. In addition to their reputation as premier performers, many of the members of the BBBC are among the world's top teachers in their respective instruments. One of the band's primary missions is to connect these world-class teachers with youth in Battle Creek and surrounding communities, allowing them to serve as role models and musical mentors. Each year, music students are given the opportunity to learn from and perform side by side with BBBC musicians through educational outreach and out-of-school time programs. In 2020, during the period of shutdown related to COVID-19, the BBBC coordinated a week-long summer seminar online via Zoom and presented 24 virtual artist-in-residence sessions that brought BBBC musicians into area virtual classrooms through the miracle of technology. For the summer of 2021, the Brass Band of Battle Creek brought back its in-person high school youth brass band camp program, which had been offered for 10 years before the interruption due to COVID in 2020. The 2021 camp was held at W.K. Kellogg Auditorium, giving 35 area high school brass and percussion players the chance to learn and play beside BBBC musicians and local music educators for 5 days. A new middle school brass band camp was also added in 2021, allowing younger students to experience the joy of brass banding for the first time, guided by an all-star staff for 3 days at Marshall High School. Twice each year, the Brass Band of Battle Creek brings Calhoun County students in kindergarten through 5th grade to the W.K. Kellogg Auditorium to experience the BBBC live and in person. These 45-minute young people's concerts are designed to introduce students to the world of brass band music, and for many it is the first live performance they've attended. In addition to hearing a variety of musical selections, the students are also given a short introduction to each instrument played in the band. Students can interact with the conductor and musicians in a way that can only be experienced through live performance, and lucky volunteers are even brought up to conduct the band. The Young People's Concert is very dear to the family of BBBC musicians, many of whom think of Battle Creek as their home away from home, and they look forward to these programs every year. The brass band has a unique and powerful set of resources to offer Battle Creek, providing great performances for the community, creating educational opportunities, and representing our city and area with pride at special performances in Michigan, the United States, and abroad. These activities require substantial funding, and the Brass Band of Battle Creek is thankful for its long history of support from local individuals, corporate sponsors, and charitable foundations, particularly the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. As a 501c3 nonprofit, the organization is challenged each year with finding support for the wonderful performances and educational programs it offers. If you would like to support the Brass Band of Battle Creek, please visit the band website at bbbc.net and click on the Support the Band or Become a Sponsor button in the upper right corner of the screen. If you'd like to experience more great music, visit the BBBC YouTube channel by simply typing Brass Band of Battle Creek in the YouTube search box.
The next piece in our program.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. I did. It's the first time I saw the whole thing, and it was somewhat overwhelming. Thank God I got to live that one day at a time. I wouldn't be alive now if I had to survive the whole thing. One thing right off the bat here, I want to make a correction. To my knowledge, Doc is still with us. For all those who are nervous about this, somehow our crack research staff must have been looking at medical doctors or dentists or something. But Doc is still with us, is a very important person in our history. Just in the way of introduction, my name is Bill Gray. My brother and I started this back in, actually we started working on it in '89. We were running the Marshall Community Band as the video stated. And we were lucky enough, our father was the president of the band at what was Michigan State College in the mid-40s, and was played under the conductor at the time, Leonard Falcone. He was the preeminent baritone horn euphonium player of his day. Because of that, eventually there was a contest in his honor started at Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp. And we were lucky enough to become involved with that. We started out as gophers. We just drove kids from the airport to the site, and eventually we ended up being on the board and doing a lot of things. But the important part is that it did bring us into contact with a lot of important, most of the great low brass players in the world. So we didn't know it, but things were spinning, you know how life works, together to lead to what we eventually did. We met some really important people. Some of them were mentioned in the video, Marty Erickson and Steve Mead. We also met Phil Cinder there. Phil Cinder is presently the professor of tuba and euphonium at Michigan State. And both he and Marty are past presidents of TUBA, which is the World Tuba Guild. We have quite a few people in the band that have been past presidents of that organization. The important part of the whole thing was we made friends with them. And as most people do, you go from one friend to another, and that's basically how you get to know people in the world. And clearly and distinctly, that's how this got started. We had no interest whatsoever. We weren't interested in starting a brass band. We just happened to get talked into it by Paul Drosty, and we had trouble recruiting reeds to play in the Marshall Community Band. So we thought, we both played brass instruments. Well, boy, maybe we should just convert this to a brass band. So that's how this started out. Totally ridiculous. We didn't have any business plan to do it, and we simply fell into it because we're friendly. So long story short, Marty was the top kick in the U.S. Navy band. He attended Michigan State, studied under Falcone. So when the contest started, he was brought back. Phil Cinder took Falcone's job, so he took part in that. And they were very pivotal in starting the whole thing. Steve Mead was the resident expert the first year we helped up there. Steve Mead is the generally regarded the greatest euphonium player in the world. He's the only 3-time national brass band champion involved in this. They were top-notch people who had tremendous connections all over the place. We got to make friends. Steve Mead's son is named James after my brother, James. My brother is Steve's son, godfather. So it's developed into that kind of thing. I think most things that end up successful end up much more on the human side of things than on the professional side. And that's one of the keys to this. We've been pretty lucky throughout the history of this to get involved with a lot of people, a lot of important people. Indirectly, John Williams, we played a lot of his music, and we've used a lot of his musicians. Tim Morrison, I'm sure most of you've seen, if you've watched the old Arthur Fiedler Boston Pops things, you've seen Tim Morrison. He's a well-known trumpet player. He, at that time, was the principal in the Boston Pops and the co-principal in the Boston Symphony Orchestra. He also played as principal in many of John Williams' famous pieces. He played on Private Ryan, Amistad, Born on the 4th of July, JFK. He also played Summon the Heroes. You may not recognize the piece, the name of it, but I'm telling you, I think you'll recognize the music. Let's see if you can hear some of this. You've heard that at the Olympics if you watched it. That was written for Tim Morrison and ended up the big theme you always watch on NBC. Another important person in the history of band was named Morris Murphy. He's no longer with us, but Morris was the principal in the London Symphony Orchestra, and he was John Williams' guy on the other side of the pond, and he was the principal player in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman, Star Wars, and many, many others. There's too many people to go through, to be honest with you. And I've already run over my time, but I'll give you one last person. Sam Pallavian played in the band for years. We lost Sam last year to cancer. Sam was the co-founder of a group called the Empire Brass. There are two famous brass quintets, Empire Brass and the Canadian Brass. Rolf Schmedwick and Sam started the Empire Brass back in 1972, and he played with us for many, many years. Kind of an interesting story. Back in 1986, there was a phone rang in Sam's house, and his wife Diane answered it and said, "Sam, it's for you." So he goes over to pick the phone up and asks, what can I do for you? And this breathy voice comes on. And the breathy voice was none other than Jackie Kennedy. She was calling Sam to see if the Empire Brass would play at Carolyn's wedding and also at his reception. Not to try to name drop, but actually I am name dropping. The band has a lot of stories just like that. But more importantly, we can play pretty well. We're going to play a little piece now as we move on. In May of 2016, the band it was the 100th anniversary of the Star Spangled Banner being adopted as the national anthem. And we put a piece together at the end to honor that. And Paul Murtha wrote it for us from the US Army Band. But the concert ended up with what you're going to hear next. And it's the March King's most favorite march, Stars and Stripes Forever.
Well, hello, everybody, and we hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. My name is Jerry Rose, as I've been introduced earlier, and I'm the education director for the Brass Band of Battle Creek. I joined the organization as a full-time employee about a year ago, and spent before that 33 years as a music educator, public school music educator, band director at Penfield Schools in Battle Creek, at Coldwater Schools, and my last 10 years as the band director at Charlotte High School near Lansing. You know, if you know a band director, you know that band directors really never retire. And I am so thankful for this opportunity to work with the Brass Band of Battle Creek and continue my passion for music and for students. It's really a great match, because even though I've just been working as an employee for a year, I've been associated with the band since its beginning. Jim Gray, Bill's brother and one of the founders, when this band was started, was actually coming to me to take euphonium lessons, and I became acquainted with the Grays and their wonderful personalities and gift for promotion, and became part of the Brass Band of Battle Creek, and played as a tubist, as a tuba player in the band for the first 5 years, I think, that the band was in existence. And that was wonderful fun. But also, I think what I didn't realize at the time is that surrounding myself with all of those fantastic musicians and all of the programming and the imagination that the Grays showed really informed my music career. A lot of those things I brought forward into my career as a young teacher, young at that point in any case, and I was able to kind of gift some of those wonderful things to all of my students over the years. So through me, I feel like the brass band already had impact even before I joined the group as the education director. In the video, you saw that we have some wonderful education programs in place. We have kind of a long-standing high school youth brass band camp that we've done in the summer. Actually, we even have a couple of success stories where we have musicians who have gone on from that high school experience to become professional musicians in many ways with other organizations, but also one of our members, William Russell, who's the tubist with the Boston Brass, is actually an alumnus of our youth brass band camps. So we're really proud of that. You saw that in 2020, we had to move everything online, and that went pretty well, although it's never, as we know right here today, it's never like being there in person. So this year we reinstituted our summer camps and were able to meet in person for the first time. And I think not only were the students glad to be there, but actually the faculty again and again would say to me, it's so wonderful to be playing for people in person again and with people in person again. So it was a great experience. And we actually added, in a time when a lot of groups are kind of trimming back their programs because of COVID, this summer we were actually able to add, thanks to some generous donors, we were able to add a middle school experience. You saw that we do the young people's concert, which is primarily for elementary kids, and we do the high school youth brass band camp. But up until this summer, we really hadn't connected that with something for middle schoolers. So with that camp being instituted, we made it so that we have a continuum from kindergarten, even pre-kindergarten, through the end of high school of programs for our students. We have some outreach programs where we bring artists into the schools. We have guest artists, our artists perform as guest soloists and guest conductors with school ensembles in our area, which is a really wonderful thing. That's not something that very many high school bands get to enjoy, and we're able to do that for them. And then maybe the most important to me part of what we're doing right now, we're in the process of designing and developing and seeking funding for out of school time programs. And there's been a lot of research recently, actually specific research to Michigan, that shows that students do much better in school and in life when they're involved in some sort of after school or outside of school time program that enriches their life. And we are in the process of starting a pretty special project, one in the Battle Creek Public Schools specifically to meet the needs of those students with elements designed in of nutritional support and transportation support and academic support that are unique to the kids in that particular school district. But then we're also starting an outside of school time youth brass band program that's open to all students, where during the school year for 20 weeks, we'll be presenting youth brass band rehearsals, and then the youth brass bands will start to perform concerts in Battle Creek and in the surrounding communities. So we're kind of on the cusp of some really great things, and I think I'm kind of a pretty lucky guy to be in this position right now. I definitely feel passionate about it, and I'm looking forward to what the future brings. So it's very nice to meet you today, and we'll be answering questions later on. But right now, I'd like to pass it back over to Shannon Akins, our executive director.
Thanks, Jerry. So Jerry is kind of humble. We're very fortunate that not only is Jerry very good at the education programs, but he is also a whiz bang at technology. And because we are so driven in that world right now, we decided yesterday, Susan and Kimberly and I, when we were talking, that everybody deserves a Jerry. So it's kind of become a joke with us now that everybody needs a Jerry. So we are very fortunate to have Jerry Rose. I every day consider myself fortunate to work with him. So he does lots of really good work, and our youth education programs are just skyrocketing. So thank you, Jerry, for all your hard work.
Thanks. I would interject that I'm also the crack research team that Bill Gray mentioned, that inappropriately identified Doc Severinsen as the late Doc Severinsen. Please don't tell Doc that happened. Thanks.
So Jerry alluded to the fact, that we, like every other organization, struggled through the COVID pandemic. If you would have told us at the beginning of 2020 that the brass band of Battle Creek would be without 3 live performances for the first time in its history, we would not have believed that. But we are coming off a 1.5 years of no live performances, and we're very excited about the upcoming December concert. But in the meantime, during the COVID shutdown, we knew that our community members were struggling. It was really hard mentally for people to deal with that shutdown. And we knew as an organization that we could not stop programming. It was key for funding, and it was really key to keep the band moving forward. So we were able during that time to put together with thanks to the funders who made that happen, we were able to put together a couple virtual events. One was in April, so right after the pandemic shut down in March. We called a few of our musicians, and there was no hesitation. Yep, we'll get there however we can. So we put about 8 musicians on stage. We put together an incredible performance. It's called Joyous Noise. And in just a minute, we're going to share a clip with you. We were also able to perform our May concert in 2021 as a virtual concert. And that was a salute to our hometown heroes. We knew how much they meant in our community, and we wanted to share our thanks and our appreciation to them. So we were very fortunate to continue to program during that time, to make plans for all of these additional youth education programs. We did not let the grass grow under our feet. So again, we consider ourselves very fortunate that we have these musicians who are so committed to their community and to bringing joy to people even during this pandemic. So right now we want to share a clip with you from that Joyous Noise concert. We think it turned out pretty well, so we hope you enjoy this.
Shannon, if I can, before I play this, I would also mention that I think that we distributed, or you may be receiving by email, Susan. I'm not sure how that will all work, but we distributed a document that's got links on it where, although we're only able to share short snippets today with you of the music, there's a wealth of music out there available online. And that document will allow you to just click on certain things and just go ahead and play them, including the two concerts that Shannon just alluded to. So here's that clip now from the Joyous Noise concert.
Why don't you come along with us?
Come along with us.
Into singing the wrong words.
That's right.
That's right. We're going to the place where all of the alien moon, and we'll be steaming on the river to New Orleans. And we'll be there to meet us.
Band will be there to meet us.
Our friends there to greet us.
Friends there to greet us.
That's right. Going to the place where all of the elite meet, and heaven on earth they call it Basin Street. I said Basin Street, this is the street where all of the kind folks meet, way down yonder in New Orleans and Battle Creek, the land of dreams. You never know how nice it seems, or just how much it really means. Yes, sirree, I used to be where welcome's free and dear to me. I know I can't lose with all of my Basin Street blues.
We want to thank you very much.
Shannon, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. Thank you. Sorry about that. We want to thank you very much for inviting the Brass Band of Battle Creek to the presentation today. We've had a great time. I have to tell you, like Bill, it is a little bit overwhelming to watch the film. So it's been a joy for us as well. So I think now we're going to take some questions and answers. If there are any, we'd love to do that.
Great, thank you so much. I don't know about all of you, but I am already in a better mood than I started this morning. So let me start with the first question in the chat, which is how many of the performers actually reside in the Battle Creek area?
I guess I get to answer that one.
Sure.
Actually, there used to be two actually, excuse me, our third cornetists. But at this point in time, none. And a lot of times we'll get that question, you know, like, well, how can you call it that when there are no Battle Creek residents? I believe they call them the New York Yankees, and none of those guys come from New York. The Dallas Cowboys, the last time I checked, none of them came from Dallas. Need I go on? This is the top professional brass group in the world at this point in time, and we hold no prejudice of where you come from or any other prejudices. So basically, the staff is all from Battle Creek. All the people that make this actually happen so that you can watch it are Battle Creek people. Everybody that plays in the band is an adopted Battle Creeker.
Great, love that. The next question is there a written comprehensive history of the BBBC?
Bill, you want to take that one? And you want to share the news with them?
That's being attempted. You know, the issue we have, in all honesty, that Jim and I, being doctors, are lousy business people. So we never really kept close to, we always thought about tomorrow, not today or yesterday. And as a result, we never really kept what we should have done. We never did a diary or wrote things down. We just went from one to the next to the next. But at this point in time, people are trying to rectify our poor ways. There is in the works a book written by a local gentleman about the history of the band and all the people that are involved. There is a ridiculous number of important people in the world of brass and percussion that have played and been involved with the band over the last 30 years. So there's a lot of interesting people and stories.
Great, thank you. The next is from Karen. My family loves you folks, have been buying your music CDs for a long time. Thank you for your dedication and persistence to providing your wonderful music.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. That's all I have in the chat right now. So if anyone else would like to unmute themselves to ask a question or make a comment, I would invite you to do that. Oh, now there's a comment coming in. This would make a great HASP trip. I agree. I think there's people from the special events committee on this call, so probably heard that.
We'd love to have you. Tickets are currently on sale on the website for the December show.
Oh,
I'm just curious to know if the organization started off as a volunteer group and then became paid musicians, or how that financial piece worked.
Well, that's an interesting story. Yes, it started off to literally be a volunteer group that my brother and I could play in, and we were trying to get the best local band directors. So this would be a day away from the store, so to speak. You know, you could come and play in a really good band, maybe close to as good a band that you played in when you were in college. But regrettably, first question we got all the time was, well, how much does this pay? What does this pay? And we have, no, you don't understand. This is for your mental health. It's just something to do that would be enjoyable. Well, we couldn't get a lot of locals to see the beauty of that. So that's how we ended up falling back on the Falcone competition. We called Marty Erickson and, you know, can you help us with this and that and so on and so forth. That's how we picked up Carlton Rowe, who was the principal trumpet in the U.S. Marine Band in Washington. So once we started to pick it really professional people, we had to find money because they had to be paid. So it was, I'm a retired foot surgeon. It's not really polite to invite me over to operate on your foot. It's just not done, you know. I mean, that's how these people make their living. They are truly professionals. It's not at all amateur. So that's kind of how it started. There's a long and interesting story about how we got the money, because we spent somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 on this without either of our wives knowing. And God only knows what would have happened if we didn't find money to make it happen. So it was pretty touch and go quite a while there, whether we'd survive. But no, they've always been paid. The help for years, for the decade of the 90s, Jim and I took no money to do it. And until we got an executive director in the late 90s, that's when staff started to be paid.
Go ahead and mute it again.
All right, thank you. Now there's a question, Bill, asking if you might consider recounting the story of an influential person in the audience at the Lakeview High School concert that had a bearing on the future of the BBBC.
Yeah,
The
well,
person
there's
can't-
an influential person and a loud person actually are involved in this story. The loud person is our sister, Kathleen. And, oh, my brothers are doing this wonderful thing and so on and so forth. And somehow or other, God's truth is she told us exactly what seat she wanted to sit in. So rather than argue with her, you just give in and give her the seats. So she came in and sat down and she was all excited, and she's a talker. So she was talking to everybody around her. And in walked this older gentleman with his wife, very distinguished looking, but she said he looked a little bit like a farmer, but he was a nice guy. And she started in on him. Oh, my brothers are doing this and isn't it wonderful? And they have all these great players and so on and so on and so forth. Drove the poor guy crazy. So we went through the concert and every chance she got, she'd nudge him and talk to him a little more. And at the end, I forget what we played it in, doesn't matter. Everybody stood up and gave us a standing ovation. And she turned to him and said, gosh, I wish we could do this again. And he turned to her and he says, well, I think you will. Turns out that gentleman was Russ Mawby, the CEO of the Kellogg Foundation. And they decided to get behind it and continue to write money, give us money. And to this day, we still get some or a lot, depending on the year, money from the Kellogg Foundation. So we've been interviewed by major magazines in Europe quite a few times. And one of the headlines of the thing was God Wants a Brass Band in Battle Creek, because I can tell you that was purely serendipity that she sat next to him. And I can't tell you how many times we've lost a musician. And now what are we going to do? What's going to happen? And we would replace that musician with a better musician. So, I'm sure most of you, anybody who's successful knows you kind of have to have a positive attitude, and you have to believe things are going to work out the way you want them, or at least in a reasonable facsimile. And if we didn't believe that before, I kind of believed it because I was a football coach to begin with. But I'm not sure my brother believed it, but he believes it now. So we've been very lucky. We've been blessed.
Thank you. There is another comment in the chat just regarding information on buying CDs. So I think Shannon is going to make some of that information available to me, and I'll make sure that I get it out in a constant contact to the membership.
Sure, I'll get that to you probably today. Kim.
Great. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone today? This was really fun. Paul, there you are. Do you want to wrap us up? You're muted, hon.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Tom, because Paul's muted. So
Yeah,
you
I
didn't hear
noticed
him. Go ahead.
when you were doing the Stars and Stripes Forever, you had some woodwinds on there doing the flute. Of course, that's a traditional part of that piece. I wondered if there are permanent woodwinds in the brass band, or did you bring them on just for this piece?
It was a bastardized band for about 35 seconds there. That's really all it amounted to. Those are that was Colonel Arnold Gabriel, the conducting that. He's the conductor emeritus of the U.S. Air Force Band, and those actually were ladies that he knew, flautists from Chicago, that my brother somehow found out were close friends of his, and he invited them to come over just to play it. Normally, the brass band of Battle Creek does all our flute playing with tubas. Anything that's a flute, we make a tuba play.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, Paul.
Okay, we would like to thank the brass band for the presentation. What they failed to tell us is when the next concert is going to be. They're going to do a Christmas concert, I know.
Yes.
But if you tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the concert is scheduled for Saturday, December 11th. Tickets are on sale now on our website, which is www.bbbc.net. You can go there and purchase tickets. You certainly can give us a call at the business office. That number 269-789-2222, like BBBC, and you will talk to me. You can purchase a ticket. And we are excited to be back together. So the doors will open at 7 o'clock to seating, lobby doors open at 6, and then the concert starts at 7:30. So we would love to see you. I can't tell you how excited the musicians are to be coming back together at the end of 2 years of not playing together. So thank you very much for reminding us of that, Paul.
Okay. And want to thank you very much for being here with us today, and looking forward to many years of great music and good times. And thank you for putting a little joy in our life.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you so much, Paul, for bringing BBBC to us. And thank you for being with us today, Shannon and Jerry and Dr. Gray. It was our pleasure to host you. We wish you the best. Thank you so much. Goodbye, all my HASP friends. Have a great rest of the day. And thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kim.